The diner smelled like burnt coffee and rain-soaked pavement that afternoon. Outside, thunder rolled low and steady, a warning of the storm to come, but the real storm wasn't in the sky. It was sitting in booth 9, tapping his phone like the world owed him something. Ethan Langford, 18, rich, handsome, spoiled to the core, was used to getting whatever he wanted. He'd grown up in gated neighborhoods, flown private since before he could spell the word airport, and believed the world revolved around his father's money. Today, he was slumming it, his words, in a roadside diner after crashing his sports car during a joyride. His friends had left him behind when they realized he was going to have to call for a tow. The only person brave enough to approach his sour mood was an elderly waitress named Mabel. Her back was bent with age, her hands a little shaky as she carried plates. Her hair was more silver than white, and her smile was the kind you only earn after decades of hard work and heartbreak. "Can I get you anything, sweetheart?" she asked kindly, her voice worn but gentle. Ethan looked up from his phone, irritation flashing across his face. "Yeah, a coffee. Make it quick." Mabel nodded and shuffled off, not bothered by his tone. She'd served worse. Life had taught her that some people lash out because they've never known kindness, and others because they've had too much of it. But when she returned, carefully setting the steaming mug in front of him, Ethan didn't even look up. He took one sip, grimaced and sneered. "This is disgusting. What do you people even use for water here, the toilet?" The diner went quiet. Forks froze halfway to mouths. The jukebox kept humming faintly in the corner, but even the music seemed to shrink away. Mabel's smile faltered, but she didn't respond with anger. Instead, she said softly, "Sorry, dear. I'll make you another one." Ethan rolled his eyes. "Don't bother. I wouldn't feed this to a dog." Then, in a moment that would change everything, he leaned forward and spat in her direction. The spit landed on the edge of her apron, sliding down toward her hand. She gasped quietly, frozen in disbelief. Laughter erupted from Ethan's table, a couple of his so-called friends who had decided to stick around for the show. To them it was just another story to tell, another way to show off how untouchable they thought they were. But what Ethan didn't know was that, in the far corner of the diner, 3 men had been watching. They were bikers, leather vests, road dust, tattoos that looked like old stories inked on skin. They'd been quiet, eating their pancakes, minding their business. Until now. The tallest of them, a grizzled man named Duke, set down his fork. His grey beard twitched as he clenched his jaw. "You see that, boys?" he said softly. The others nodded. Duke stood, his heavy boots echoing on the tile as he walked toward the booth. The diner seemed to breathe again, a collective inhale of tension and curiosity. Ethan looked up, confused as the shadow of the biker fell across his table. "Can I help you?" he said, his arrogance flickering with a hint of fear. Duke stared down at him. "Yeah," he said slowly. "You can apologize." Ethan frowned. "For what?" "For disrespecting that lady." Ethan smirked, trying to regain control. "Mind your business, old man. You don't know who I am." Duke leaned closer, eyes cold and steady. "Doesn't matter who you are. What matters is what you just did. Now, you're going to clean up your mess, and you're going to apologize." For the first time, Ethan's confidence cracked. He glanced at his friends, expecting them to laugh it off, to back him up, but they were already inching toward the door. He started, but Duke didn't move. The silence pressed down on him until the only thing he could hear was the thudding of his own heartbeat. Finally, Ethan stood. He walked slowly toward Mabel, his hands trembling slightly. She hadn't moved, just stood there, wiping her apron with shaking fingers. He opened his mouth, but no words came. "I'm sorry," he whispered, barely audible. Mabel looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "You should be," she said softly. Duke turned away, satisfied, and went back to his table. The other bikers followed, leaving Ethan to sit alone with his shame. When the tow truck finally arrived, Ethan didn't rush out. He stayed behind to help Mabel wipe down tables, avoiding her eyes the whole time. She didn't say much, but when he reached for the same rag she was using, their hands brushed, and she gave him the smallest smile. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was a beginning. As he left, Duke stopped him by the door. "You got a lot of growing up to do, kid," he said, handing Ethan a business card. "We run a charity ride for veterans and single moms next weekend. You want to make something of yourself, show up. No fancy cars. Just you, a broom, and a willingness to work." Ethan took the card and nodded. "Yeah," he said quietly, "I'll be there." And he was. That weekend, Ethan showed up in a plain t-shirt and jeans, cleaning tables, carrying boxes, and listening more than he spoke. He learned how Mabel's husband had passed 10 years earlier, how she worked double shifts to keep her house. He learned how the bikers, men who looked rough on the outside, spent their weekends helping people no one else saw. By the end of the day, Ethan was exhausted, filthy, and smiling for the first time in a long while. Months later, people at the diner still talked about the day the rich boy changed. Mabel would just laugh when asked about it, saying, "He's not a bad kid. He just needed someone to teach him what respect looks like." And Ethan? He never forgot that rainy afternoon. It became the day his world turned upside down and right side up again. He learned that money couldn't buy dignity, that kindness didn't mean weakness, and that one small act of respect could repair a lifetime of pride. Because sometimes it takes getting humbled in front of strangers to finally see what being human really means. Moral of the story: true strength isn't in power or wealth. It's in humility, empathy, and the courage to change.